unfinished business, if you will, with Maryville here today, and I do think he has to step it up if they're going to hoist that trophy.
I mean, we always talk about these storylines of people, you know, like being ready for revenge and things like that, but we know Winnie actually does. Like he had a social media post as soon as he made it into the grand final saying, I am ready to beat Niles and I'm ready to beat Maryville. He's going to need to have a great performance here in Game 3, match up against Yuuji a little bit better than he has in the last couple of matchups. And I think, you know, with the right draft, that definitely still is possible.
It definitely is. And, you know, Winnie, he's talked about how he used to look up to Niles, right? He used to think of Niles as this iconic CLOL player, and now Winnie up there in that pantheon as well. St. Louis opting to stay on red side. I'm a bit surprised by this, Grapes.
Seems like they really value that R5. The interesting thing, though, Hawk, is we have not always seen it for Srtty. In game number 1, that pick actually went towards Winnie in the jungle with the blind Twisted Fate pick. And this allows for the cadence in the draft to remain relatively similar. That is all 6 bans exactly the same.
Yeah, this is really surprising stuff. I see no reason not to just be one Taliyah here, too. I mean, Yuuji played it last game, but Spirax could totally play it as well. I really don't want to see Senna. I think the biggest thing is clearly SLU is going to try to mix something up, I feel like, with their mid-jungle would be my guess. But, I mean, B1 Taliyah just seems so obvious for me.
And you heard Cubby say it. As soon as you see that locked in, you know that it is a flex. You know that either Yuuji or Spirax can play it. And now St. Louis opting towards the other side of the matchup, the matchup that won them game number 1. They're going to get that bot lane prio with the Lucian Nami.
And for the first time, the Taliyah has been separated by the Lucian Nami. And ooh, Zeri Lulu. This is an old school pick. Jerry bringing it back a little bit. This is going to lose lane quite hard, really try to scale up into things. A lot of responsibility now going to fall towards Yuuji, whatever he decides to pick, and Spirax, you know, depending on where the Taliyah goes, right, to really bridge this mid-game.
We think about the last time Maryville was at a LAN. It was at the NACL Finals against Srtty just a couple of months ago, and I think Jerry's best game was on that Zeri in game number 1. He had some really, really nice plays, was able to outplay in some of these team fights, and even though the champion isn't as meta as it used to be, he's still able to play it quite nicely.
So, interestingly as well, Twisted Fate has actually been picked up on 3, so St. Louis really prizes this champion up against Niles. It could be a flex, that is true. I'm expecting it to be Srtty champion though, but either way, snapping that one away and not going towards a mage, it's going to give Maryville the potential to maybe ban some of those away, things that are still open. We saw the Hui last game from DARKWINGS. I thought it was fine. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go back towards it. You know, we've seen Ari, Azir, other champions like that.
Azir, we're still waiting for it, right? I mean,
we've not seen it. We've talked about it the whole series, but neither team has
built it up as such this big thing, and Maryville are like, nah, screw
well, when Taliyah is pick ban apparently in this final, like, why would you go towards it? Yep. And I mean, hey, Azir Taliyah, that sounds like the worst mid-jungle 2v2 I've ever heard, but they could play it.
You could just send the Taliyah mid instead. Get Yuuji something a little bit more on the playmaking side. With the Tristana takeaway, that means that Lee Sin is available for Yuuji in the second rotation for the first time all series. Winnie still has the opportunity to pick a jungler here, and this would be a bit of a change in pace, and I don't think we're going to see that instead. We're definitely not going to see that one.
I don't think we're going to see the River Shaco that we saw 100 Thieves pull out. Yeah, okay. Orianna, like this a lot. I think it's really standard. It gives some good scaling, good team fight potential, and that does confirm that the Twisted Fate is going topside here for Srtty Grapes.
Can we see a big throwback? I see that Pantheon hover. I know Niles loves that champion. Played it a ton in 2023.
No, I thought it was locked in. Oh my god, I just freaked out.
Calm down.
Yeah, my bad. I was ready, yeah.
We don't talk about
I thought I saw it get locked in. I'm losing my mind.
Oh, okay. So as Zach's going to get locked in instead. The question is, it's still flexible, so St. Louis is going to have up until the very last pick to figure out where these champions actually are going to go.
Yeah, it could be a Zac jungle. I don't expect it to be. I feel like this is probably a Zac top, just try to out-sustain that Twisted Fate. Taliyah probably moving mid, pick a good AD jungler. Kindred would be an interesting one if Maryville decides to go for it. It fits that carry build that we know Yuuji so well for. But it doesn't bring the early game, which I think their composition needs. So moving instead towards the Lee Sin, you're just trying to get Jerry into the late game, right? It's all on Yuuji Spirax early on, build a bridge, and then Niles, hey, good luck in top lane, buddy.
You think about Yuuji's time at FlyQuest, that Lee Sin was such an iconic part of his just repertoire and becoming one of the most dominant prospects we have here in North America. He finally gets it here in game number 3. What will the response be here for SLU, though? They're looking for a jungler on Winnie's side. They're going to go with the Sejuani.
Oh, no.
They have 4 ranged champions, which is not necessarily the synergy that you want, but they did need a beefy frontliner to match all of these backline carries.
Grapes, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I really hate this pick. You have 4 ranged champions, and you also just don't really have the best targets to go for. Glacial Prison, you know, there's a Zac standing in the way that you don't really want to go on top of. A Lulu to bail people out. I feel like Sejuani just doesn't bring that much value in a composition that wants to spread the map and play more proactive in the early game. I think I would have really preferred something like, I mean, I've been talking about Wukong. Winnie's kind of avoided that one throughout this series.
Or even the Xin Zhao, right? Like, you can push Niles away on the engage. With the ultimate, you also still have a lot of backline carries, although Lee Sin maybe negating that a little bit. Not the pick that we expected, but it's still something that is up Winnie's alley, right? Something that can make early plays. You're not expecting him to full clear on this champion, and he hasn't done it all series.
And the one thing, I mean, look, Lee Sin obviously a better skirmisher than Sejuani, but Sejuani actually does have decent skirmish in her own right, so you're not just going to get run over by this Lee, and it provides frontline. I think maybe that was the read with the Maokai getting banned out, wanting to go for a true tank, but my feeling here is I don't think SLU really wins scaling anyway. So screw frontline, you know, just go and kill them. That's the best defense is just all of them being dead and not being able to DPS you right, and I think maybe a bit of a fumble here from SLU in the draft, but we'll see how it works out for him.
Here we go. It's 1-1 between Maryville and St. Louis here in our CLOL Grand Finals. The winner of this game will be on match point, just one away from hoisting that all-important trophy. It'll be 3 for Maryville if they win. It'll be #1 for SLU. But either way, such an impactful match. This could really break things open if one thing goes the wrong way.
Niles on his last ride, trying to lift one finally with Maryville once again. Winnie on his last ride, hoping to lift one for the first time after a storied CLOL career. Maryville stacking the bush, anticipating a potential SLU level 1 move.
Now, I do like the soul lane carries here for St. Louis. Twisted Fate looked really good for Srtty in that game #1, and we didn't talk about it a ton on the caster desk, but I think Jolly and the rest of the analyst desk did mention this, but Orianna for DARKWINGS is such a signature pick of his. We see in the bottom side, SkyTec actually was forced to flash away, so the 5-stack from Maryville actually did end up paying off.
Yeah, big summoner getting blown, Yuuji already having an obvious lane to attack. We saw how he was able to exploit bottom lane last game. However, we do expect Airren and SkyTec to have the push, and I think Winnie needs to play towards... It's awkward, though. I think he wants to play a little bit more towards mid, honestly, more than anything. That's the most obvious lane of attack. You know, Spirax not having cleanse, he is immobile, and I think if you can get DARKWINGS going in this game, again, we saw it in game #1 as a huge part of their win. SLU and their mid laner were really able to keep Spirax down. That was less the case in game 2, which was just, in general, much less about mid lane.
And we are setting up some lane swap shenanigans once again. You see Srtty popping the Ghost to try to force Spirax out a little bit. Ended up being about a net neutral in terms of the mid lane HP pool, but now take a look at the top side of the map. Winnie looking for this red buff, but
so
Niles gonna stop him. And this is just, you know, buying a ton of time for Maryville and making sure Winnie's path and clear is just delayed.
And Niles has slingshot, so he's totally fine. We're seeing exactly what we saw last game. Yuuji's probably going to get access to 3 jungle quadrants. At the very least, he already took his Raptors. So even if Winnie completes his clear on his blue quadrant and then moves into Yuuji's red side with, you know, the push that he has in bottom, he's still going to be down a camp just because Yuuji was able to deny one. At the very least, Winnie got his Raps. So it's a bit of an even trade, I suppose, at the end of the day, but... I mean, MU, they're really dictating the pace of these lane swaps. SLU, they've been on the back foot.
And you can see some vision placed in the bottom side jungle of Maryville, which means that plays like this can be made. Spirax has to flash away, will be defended by Niles, and so nobody will go down. Just a couple of summoners burned, mostly on Maryville's side.
Yeah, but I mean, getting that flash off of Spirax, we said that I think mid is the lane that Winnie wants to look to attack in this game and get DARKWINGS going, similar to #1. And with that flash being down, it does open up a potential window, teleport even being for Srtty. Doing a really good job. It's actually been said, you know, for as much as SLU has struggled in the lane swap, Srtty seems to really understand personally what his role is supposed to be. And right now, it's being the Goblin level 1 top laner, making the enemy mid laner's life hell.
So Srtty joins his team down bottom as Niles makes his way top. There is a reset from Scary Jerry and Zyko. They're headed back to bottom lane. Now the question is, does SLU want to continue the swap? But it looks like instead they're going to go back to standard lanes.
Yeah, absolutely not. But this time, Srtty's not up XP like he was on Niles last time. So the 1v1 is going to be much harder for this Twisted Fate. And SLU didn't really get anything else for it. Ultimately, though, it was a very even lane swap. The one difference is that it was actually MU, despite being the ones that went top lane, that got more tower plates. I think I still see a 4 on the bottom lane tower there.
I think it was just Winnie clears slower. Means Yuuji's able to get on the map a little bit earlier. That play in the mid lane, maybe delaying things for SLU just a little bit. It did mean actually though that Winnie, even in CS compared to last game, we remember how far ahead Yuuji was versus Winnie when this lane swap situation did occur. And so that is at least a small win here for SLU. However, the gold still in Maryville's favor.
Yeah, but not by much. I mean, ultimately, the lane swap, again, it's just all about keeping Srtty behind the curve of the game. And it has the double effect of, you know, Airren and SkyTec not really able to dominate in the push the way that they might have wanted to. Heavy trading, though, in bottom. Jerry, taking a lot of damage.
That was a nice bubble from SkyTec. I mean, predicting that dash a little bit, making sure that no additional damage was able to be done, allows for this wave to fully crash under tower and for Airren to pick up all of the gold.
Srtty still having the pressure in this top lane, but again, it's just all about keeping TF behind the pace of the game. It also gives Zeri even more time to scale. Winnie, though, making an appearance. Jerry has some.
Dashes over the wall as well. That's just all too easy. Not going to be a single problem here, and actually going to force Winnie out of the tri-brushes. He just wanted to clear some vision. That's not going to happen.
And Winnie, once again, behind in the jungle clear. Yuuji, same level, but up camps. Winnie on this dragon is spotted, and they're DARKWINGS.
Tried to flash away from the sonic wave, but did not. Not enough for the kill to occur. But now on the other side, it's going to be SLU with a great response. It is Winnie picking up first blood.
Yeah, you know, Yuuji goes really far forward, but he had to have known that he didn't have control over bottom river. Zyko and Scary Jerry had completely backed away. Great roam from SkyTec, and I think that's a mistake from the MVP jungler. Now Zyko getting bubbled.
Another nice Aqua Prison. Zyko pops the shield, still has his flash, but had to heal. And so he will be able to survive. St. Louis, though, grasping control of this early game right back from the Saints. They're now up 600 gold.
And again, unlucky that Winnie gets the kill, but that is a big time break in tempo again from SLU, being able to disrupt. It was Maryville that went for the play, but again, I think just Winnie, you don't have any business walking down into bot side river. You used your turn to take the play in mid. SLU used their second turn, even better.
Now we just have to, you know, see how the rest of the mid lane and how the junglers interact as well. And remember, that continues to be the focal point of this series, Hawk. And so far, things are very even between Winnie and DARKWINGS and Yuuji and Spirax. That is not something that we could have said in that last game.
Yeah, definitely not. Hey, I said I wanted to see Yuuji come alive, and early game was a bit dicey. Niles giving him a hard time, but getting that kill, that's the kind of thing we want to see. Spread the wealth now. Take that gold and move it elsewhere. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Srtty, he's liking his position in the game. DARKWINGS and Winnie still trying to control bottom river. Clearly, the game plan for SLU here is the dragons. Winnie was actually never able to take the dragon, but they have full control over the area, and I think with Airren coming off base, they have the Noon Quiver. Should be pretty easy to take.
Mid lane prio as well. DARKWINGS doing a good job shoving that wave up. He is just so good on Soriana, man. I mean, you even think back to some of the games that he had back on like AoE Esports, where he was with players like Winnie and SkyTec, find shockwave after shockwave, turn around these fights in such big capacities. We're expecting a lot of the same here today.
You see DARKWINGS trading better than Spirax, hitting level 7 first, really bullying him off the wave. No TP for the Talia. Means Winnie able to take that dragon. No grubs in trade, by the way. Yuuji went for Winnie's wraps into a mid gank instead of trading neutrals.
Darian, Zyko pushing out the jungle support duo of SLU just a little bit. However, Winnie unrelenting in his attempt to get this bottom lane ahead. He's still posturing towards this tri-brush where he knows the control ward belongs. Finds a knock-up on a Zyko. He has the flash on the Apollo. Yuuji going to join him as well. They land the stun. Here comes the shockwave. Winnie and DARKWINGS collaborate beautifully for a kill on the Maryville support. Here comes Srtty. Lands the gold card onto Yuuji. He's forced to dash straight into his demise. It is 2-0 Billikens.
That was such a stylish play from SLU. Winnie with the ball delivery flash in. I asked for the jungler of St. Louis to come alive, and oh boy, has he. The captain has arrived.
Oh man, I mean these players, Winnie and DARKWINGS, they've played together for so many years. They know just how to work these combos out, and that was just beautiful synergy and maybe a sign of what is to come later on.
And a bit of a rarity here from the Billikens as well. Srtty giving up the top wave to make that play happen, allowing Niles to catch back up, but it pays off big time. We have seen what two Evolutions can do in this series, and Grapes, I want to take a step back. I love how you talk about, you know, Winnie, DARKWINGS haven't played together. They have been together for the better part of 2 years as a duo. SkyTec has also been there with them for a similar amount of time, just basically -1 split. These guys really know how they like to play, and you could see it right there.
And the synergy just continues to improve throughout the year as well. I mean, even a couple of months ago, SLU, they looked a little disjointed in some of their matches. They dropped down to the lower bracket, but their time together has just proven to be more and more important. And where we're seeing, Hawk, both of these teams are bending but not breaking. SLU bouncing back, great.
Up 1.5K though, they have the first dragon. I will say, during all that, Yuuji did take the grubs, I think. Or, wait, did Niles do it? Maryville has the grubs, so that's the big thing. So they did at least ultimately trade even in the neutrals, and with no dragon for 250, it's going to be a big question of whether or not SLU can continue to control the bottom river and keep Maryville out. Winnie, I mean, clearly, he's inside. He knows he's moving down towards it.
Going right back down, DARKWINGS has the shockwave again, and now with this lead, Airren and SkyTec have been able to push underneath this tier 1 tower rather easily against Jerry and Zyko. Not going to be enough for that full commit. However, the bot lane, bot side jungle as a whole has been dominated by St. Louis since that last play.
I think another big thing too is Zyko is still flashless as well, and he's gonna not have it for this dragon, so it makes a really easy target. Don't go for Jerry, he's got flashing cleanse, you're never gonna kill that guy, but if you're able to find the Lulu and just one-shot her before, you know, the wild growth and everything can go down, creating a 4v5 in that scenario would be really, really big.
You still see Yuuji just trying to pick up some of the scraps of his bottom side, but he has to play so defensively alongside his bottom lane. At this point, he's around bot just to make sure that Jerry and Zyko don't get dove.
Yeah, I mean, and Winnie's flexing his muscles. He took a red buff. I mean, I love to see this from SLU, but big all in.
Oh, they're going forward. Glacial Prison not going to find anybody. Airren chunked down to half HP. Here comes Yuuji. He's looking for a kick. Does not have the flash to get it onto SkyTec. Tidal Wave in response. It finds Zyko, but Airren's low. Oh, the Dragon's Rage, and Yuuji picks up the crucial shutdown on his favorite champion.
Graves, you talked about a favorite champion indeed. That was clean from Yuuji. An outplay in the bottom lane from the jungler of Maryville. Once again, putting on a clinic. He saw that when he was getting involved, and he's like, wait a minute, I gotta make my presence felt too. Eclipse completed on the Lee Sin.
There's a reason it was banned against him in those first 2 games, Hawk. If Yuuji is on this Lee Sin, he can continue to make plays, whether you're down 2K or 10K, still always just a big threat. You saw it right there.
And look at the investment too. It was only cleanse and heal from Jerry and Zyko. Meanwhile, all summoners off of SLU's bottom lane as they tried to turn that one around. So SLU, you know, they tried to make the outplay. Instead, it was them that got served, and they're going to get punished for it. It's going to make this dragon fight in 45 seconds much more difficult.
Another interesting thing. I mean, SLU, they have some pretty vulnerable carries in their backline. You know, Winnie can be used to tank a little bit, but not going to be enough, especially here in a 1v2. Yuuji going forward, Srtty popping the ghost. Fires in one last card. That's a little bit of a disincentive.
But, I mean, this is a really nice play from MU because now Srtty going to be forced to choose whether or not to use the Destiny Gate to fix top wave or to use it towards the dragon, right? And even though Niles doesn't have the teleport himself, he can join if he wants to off the base. Instead, he's going to go back top lane. But look at this. Yes, Srtty, he's completely dropping the wave. So he's falling further behind the pace of the game to try to make sure SLU's dragon stacking win condition can stay online.
Seems like a composition for SLU that even though Srtty benefits the most in a side lane, they need to be working as 5, especially at this part of the game. When these champions have their one-item spikes, we have Airren with that static shift, almost canceling that back, but Winnie's already on the Drake down bottom.
And I think the understanding here from SLU is that they have to accelerate the pace of the game. And getting extra waves onto Srtty, like, while obviously you want to get those, that's not how you force the game forward. Dragons are, because you can force Maryville to fight you, right? Especially once that soul potentially comes up. You know, Hextech still a possibility, Mountain still a possibility here. We'll see what the soul ends up being as the dragon gets taken, but I do think, I mean, while it feels bad for Srtty, this is good understanding of what their win conditions in this game are.
Does mean he's a little bit far behind. He's a level down on Niles. He's forced to escape underneath his own turret for defense as Niles is proxying on this Zac. There's not a ton of pieces to stop this guy at this point in time here, Hawk. This Zac can get super tanky and become really unkillable in these later game fights.
Yeah, this Zac is gonna be hard to deal with. I mean, you have a lot of DPS on the side of SLU, but I mean, Niles has really had a great series, Graves. He's done such a brilliant job of not allowing Srtty to get good pressure over him. I'm pretty sure the play we saw from Yuuji, you know, a few minutes ago was the first top play by MU of the whole series, if I'm not mistaken. It really has just been him on an island containing but perhaps the best individual player in this tournament.
Now, when you remember, that was a big thing even in the NACL finals. Now we head down towards the bottom lane. A little bit engaged here onto Spirax, and Winnie is able to pick up the kill. Now there's a bit of a TP in response. Niles jumping over the St. Louis mid-jungle and forcing some flashes in response. Here comes Jerry, vaulting over the wall and targeting this Sejuani. Winnie gets polymorphed, will not go down. a magic act for the St. Louis jungler to survive, at least for the time being. DARKWINGS will go down on the other side of the map, but Winnie will live with just 1 kill going over to Maryville.
That is a huge play for SLU, though. They only trade 1 for 1 as somehow Winnie slinks away, and it allows Srtty to deny a wave in top lane. It allows Airren to deny a wave in mid. MU completely sold out for that collapse, and they hardly got anything for it.
It's looking still pretty good overall here for SLU. The fact that Winnie is able to survive in that game. We saw Srtty pull off some great escapes in the series against UST, and we're seeing Winnie do the same here.
And now the Billikens are 3,000 gold in the lead with that tower falling. That is a massive swing in their favor. They also got the flash off of Spirax. Even though DARKWINGS and Winnie end up losing theirs, again, you're so okay with how that sequence went. Flashless Talia does give you a target moving forward with the Dragon in 3 minutes.
Still a while, though, and so it will allow for everybody to kind of reset, get to that next item spike. We're approaching another one here for Airren, that rapid fire cannon, going to be able to provide a little bit of extra range, a little bit of extra burst, and we're really looking specifically on the other side. Spirax has not completed his first item yet.
It's been a rough game for Spirax. Honestly, he's been pretty quiet so far in this series. You know, he did his job on the Tristana last game, but wasn't anything impressive. I think DARKWINGS got the better Airren now in mid.
Once again, power of that Lucian Nami.
Yeah.
You just pop the R, you force the enemy, whoever's the enemy, in the mid lane back, and just gain control of that lane.
Right.
It's response to be the top lane turret on the other side, but now Jerry's in a ton of trouble with St. Louis pushing.
They want to dive. They want to dive. Here comes the Destiny.
We're looking for the teleport, not going to find it just yet. The wave gets thinned out. There comes the shockwave, and Jerry with a nice flash to prevent that from taking him down, but it will be the mid lane tower.
But it's still so good from SLU being able to pick up that tower, and people oftentimes have a misconception. The Lucian Nami is an early game duo, but it's all about the mid game, and this is why. How do you play the game if you're Scary Jerry and the rest of MU when Airren is just completely chunking you out of the mid lane whenever he wants? It's so difficult, and you have to find a solution for it. Maryville yet to really do so, and it does mean that SLU continue to extend their lead.
Second item now for Airren. They're going to redeploy with this dragon spawning in 1:30. Not necessarily one that Maryville has to fight for, but maybe they want to, and if they do, it's going to be a little bit tough because of the item spikes that SLU do have right now.
First redeploy coming out from them as well. It is Maryville with the push for the time being, but not really any way into the jungle. Again, Airren's just posturing up on the wave, daring Jerry to walk up towards him. And of course, Jerry, no fool, not going to take that one. It's going to be a lot of red wards getting dropped. I honestly wonder if there's an argument right now for MU. Drop soul point, you know, try to fight for soul. It is a Cloud Soul. I think Cloud Soul is really freaking strong, but it still is not, you know, Hextech or anything like that. And I just feel like your item spikes right now are Eclipse Lee Sin, it's Sunfire, Zac, which are both pretty good, but then you have yet to be completed Seraphs on Spirax and only a static shiv on your Zeri. They're just so weak.
They do have the Herald, though, that allows them to get mid-prio, at least for the time being. Still 40 seconds out until that dragon spawns, so it allows for SLU to take Shelly down, and will be able to reset that mid lane wave before they have to fight for that objective.
And Maryville does give them control over the area. There are a couple of red wards still in the river and also by the Raptors that gives SLU some information, but they are grouping up. This is how you play the Lucian, right? The way to prevent him from dashing forward is with numbers. Cannot face tank into the whole team, right? Otherwise, you're going to go down. But SLU pushing both sides. They should be able to collapse towards this. Maryville just want to set up a trap, understanding that going to the objective likely a death sentence.
You see Srtty getting bot lane prio as well. He has not the ultimate, but a great flank angle into the enemy team. They find Scary Jerry with the Glacial Prison that forces his cleanse away. Culling doing a lot of damage. Zyko forced to pop the Wild Growth on himself. That is a ton of HP, and that is all that St. Louis needs to pick up Soul Point.
That was a really nice pinch from SLU. I mean, just textbook right there, finding the Glacial Prison, finding the chunk, and again, it's not about kills. You can fight for kills, but you can also fight for spaces. SLU take control of the area. Maryville, no way in, no way to stop Soul Point from going down.
I'm just so happy, Hawk. We have such a close series
This is a great series,
This
yeah.
is awesome. I mean, Maryville historically have just done so good into St. Louis. Even going back to a couple of months ago, I mean, we keep talking about it, but they really have dominated the Billikens throughout their history, and we're not seeing any of that history. It is all about right now.
Grapes, let's not sugarcoat it. We were having conversations about this Maryville team potentially being the most dominant CLOL team ever. Yuuji and Spirax? Are you kidding me? These players, Niles, he's been around for forever. Scary Jerry and Zyko, like, this team is insane. They came in second place in the NACL. I mean, that is a monumental achievement for this squad. And SLU was a team that really looked like they weren't living up to their potential for a while. I know Cubby on the studio talked about, you know, how they didn't really get to practice until basically the round of 32. And it didn't all come together immediately, but this team has really rallied, and they are showing us the best League of Legends that we have seen from this squad ever.
A little scary there in the top side of the map. DARKWINGS had to pop the ult and the flash to escape from Spirax, who came in with that Weaver's Wall. But that's not going to matter too much, as there's really nothing that St. Louis need to fight for. They can continue to just shove waves out, make sure that Maryville are always on the back foot, and get their item spikes for that next dragon, which will be the sole point for them.
And I think, interestingly, we've actually seen this throughout the series, but once again, SLU with their lead, not really prioritizing controlling the top side of the map in the Baron area, right? They are just wanting to permanently keep Maryville out of the bottom side jungle to make taking that Soul Dragon that much easier, take a fight on their terms. I think the big question is going to be, does Maryville look to try to create cross-map situations? Getting that flash off of DARKWINGS, I mean, that is a pretty big cooldown. They're actually TPing in onto DARKWINGS. There's another one behind by the Baron.
Yeah, Spirax in a lot of trouble here, as it's just going to be that 1v1 until Winnie arrives as well. The gold card will seal the deal, and Spirax goes down to Srtty.
Yeah, Spirax getting dropped, and now SLU. I talked about deprioritization of the Baron, but without a mid laner, I don't think they can do it. Maryville has a lot of push towards mid. That tower's low, and he's got the teleport when he's up, so I think SLU wisely deciding not to go for it.
We saw what happened at this point in the game in game number 1. When SLU had the win, they got one kill, they went to Baron, things went awry a little bit. Instead, they're going to push mid with that Lucian-Nami duo. They force a flash out of Zyko. That's going to be big. Another squishy, immobile target for SLU to collapse upon.
Yeah, I like this restraint a lot. They're just continuing to exert control. Now full control over the top side. They got the flash off of Zyko, and Maryville not really going to feel safe walking in anywhere at this point. Winnie, once the Glacial Prison comes back up, he can pick pretty much any target. I mean, even Niles would probably get burned down by this 2.5 item Lucian.
It's just so scary. You can see the protection that the Sejuani provides as well in the mid lane, as Airren and SkyTec can basically play as far up as they want because they are so far ahead, because they have enough damage, and because Winnie is there to protect him. We're still awaiting for that soul point. Would be the opportunity now for Maryville to really force a fight.
And how insane is Winnie, man? I mean, this guy picks Sejuani with 4 ranged characters when I say he needs to have a good series. I was not in favor of the pick at all. And now he's having the best game that he's had the whole series. And it's just the Winnie game. Sometimes you disrupt his game plan and you farm him like you did last game. This time around, he finds all the right angles. He rallies his team and leads the charge. What a great player and such a storied player here in Collegiate.
And he remembers this matchup against Maryville.
He remembers quite well.
I mean, how great would it be if he takes him to match point, just in such a great position. He's really leading a lot of his friends at this point. I mean, these are players that have been together for so long, and now he gets to take them along for this ride and take him to this grand finals and hope to get over the hump that he never has reached before.
So now here's the question, Graves. Not to be a downer, but we got to this position in game 1, and SLU, they dropped the groceries all over the floor multiple times. I would like to see them not do that again. And so the big question is going to be, can they close this game out cleanly? Because I will say, with this composition, I don't think Maryville will fail to close out from a throw like they did in game 1.
Specifically because of Scary Jerry on this Zeri. Approaching has that 2 items now, I should say, with the Runons. That's a very big power spike, actually, we should mention, for this dragon that is spawning in 30 seconds. Maryville surely looking for a fight to make sure that they do not give up this soul.
Niles is looking. That's a chunk onto Jerry. They found SkyTec. Good flash, though.
Oh, they forced the shockwave as well. It's not going to find a thing. Winnie throws out the Glacial Prison, but it's going to send him right back with the help of Niles. Culling nearly taking the back down to half, but it's not enough for anybody on SLU to go down. Srtty still pushing on that bottom lane tier 2. Going to break open a little bit more gold unless they have anything to say about it. It is Niles popping the teleport to make sure that that tower does not fall.
They're going for him, though. Weaver's Wall not followed by Spirax, and it means Srtty can walk away. Amazing distance from SLU as Yuuji wants more.
The big kick, but not a lot of follow-up from Yuuji on the Lee Sin. Maryville still have 4 strong in this area. They have Niles awaiting. Still has that passive as well, so can play with a lot of time and a lot of space. It is them starting the dragon first.
I mean, Maryville knows they can't give away the soul. It is them with priority access to the bot wave, but rather mid. SLU has bottom, though. It's going to be a smite fight, Grapes, as the Destiny is popped.
Srtty looking for an angle. They go for Winnie at first. Bear Dragon at 2,000 HP. Who's going to get it? That secures the soul for SLU. Here comes Niles. Left bouncing into the dragon pit. DARKWINGS is stuck and left out to dry. The soul goes to SLU, but 2 kills. kills go to Maryville.
Make it 3 as SkyTec also fell. SLU, they find the play, but not the fight at all. Maryville, really well done by them. The big question is, can SLU prevent this Baron from going down? Or if the Baron does go, I don't think they're going to contest. They had the pre-push top wave. They need to go and push out the rest of their waves. We saw this in game number 1 where they gave up the Baron to Maryville, but they didn't actually give up that much of their control.
Baron's at half HP. The health bars are relatively vulnerable, but it would just be too much of a risk for Airren and Srtty to go in. With Winnie just respawning, it will be Maryville, after winning that fight, securing the Baron now.
This is a really good move, though, from Airren. See how he already goes and pushes up mid-wave, and they're TPing bot. This is great. So SLU is going to push all these waves and slow down the Baron from Maryville. And I think ultimately, as long as you don't give up too much here as SLU, you're fine to take the soul there. And it just, again, continues to progress the game. Maryville, though, they are going to get a lot of gold back off this.
And remember, in that fight, it went Maryville's way. However, Winnie basically sacrificing his body to secure the soul, and also a bunch of crucial ultimates. DARKWINGS specifically did not have that shockwave around the dragon. Will that be enough for Maryville to get back into this game? They push up mid, they get the tier 1, but the waves are still really good for SLU.
Good ult top, though, from Spirax to prevent the split push from Srtty. And I will say, despite everything, we did start to see the power of Maryville's composition in the 5v5, right? Zyko able to prevent the individual member from going down, and SLU, basically all their damage is single target, especially if that shockwave is not able to find multiple. So, you know, when they're not able to get the stars to align in a fight, it definitely went awry for them. And I think DARKWINGS in particular, not really the best sequence there for him. Need to see it turned around in the next fight, because I think the next fight will decide the game. And Maryville should be at their item spikes by then. Jerry already at 2.5. Oh. Wait, Yuuji's just dead.
A little too far forward. I mean, I don't know how that happened, but that should not have happened for Yuuji. That's a big mistake, overextending when your team has Baron. The wave was not even in a good spot. He was just greeting for those Raptors. Yeah,
a huge mistake from Yuuji. We've seen a couple of those this series, Grapes, and now SLU, they're going to be able to take back control, and I think that's going to be it for Maryville's Baron.
That's pretty good if you're SLU.
That's very good.
I mean, there was a situation where Maryville really could have taken over this game, but St. Louis, they still have the soul, they still have that 3,000 gold lead, and as the Baron buff starts to expire, it ends up being a win. Soul for Baron, and you don't get much off of that Baron.
Now Srtty pushing it in top. Niles maybe wanting to disrupt things. Maryville is here to defend, but I think SLU doing a really good job. We didn't see this as much in game number 1, but we're seeing it a lot here in game 3, playing on 3 waves, forcing Maryville to respond in multiple places.
We are starting to hit that break point, specifically down in the bottom lane, though. As Scary Jerry approaches his Infinity Edge, that's the 3rd item on his side. Airren and SkyTec, they've been able to dominate on this Lucian Nami pick all game long, but we're starting to get to the point where Jerry and Zyko will start to scale, and they will start to really, really pack a punch.
And we do need to start having the conversation about the 30-minute Elder Dragon, Graves, because it's coming in 2.5 minutes. I don't think SLU's going to win the game in that time. And when we take stock, like you just said, Scary Jerry's probably going to be up 3 items. Spirax might get there in time. SLU's already there. So their spike has basically come, and they're not likely to find a big-time fight window. So I like what they're doing, just trying to take control of the jungle and force Maryville into a mistake.
Jerry popped the ulti, looking for an aggressive play onto the 2v2 of SLU, but did not find the proc, which means that he is ulti-less for the next couple of seconds. A big chunk on a Zyko. That forces the wild growth out of the Lulu, and that allows for St. Louis, with the Baron buff expired, to push mid.
Yeah, they're just going to keep pushing, and Maryville forced to respond. Niles is pushing bot, but he's got a TP.
Oh, they're dashing forward on a Scary Jerry, forced to flash away. Here comes the Weaver 12 on the other side. Spirax not finding the seismic shove, and so it will be St. Louis retreating back towards the top. There's a big shockwave. It finds 2, and Yuuji will fall. Maryville go down, and they lose objectives to SLU as well.
And Maryville's critically only dropping 1, though, but a really nice move from SLU. I think Maryville was trying to bait them into that mid-dive, but SLU just understood how strong they were. Maryville's spike hadn't come yet. They get punished for the play. Critically, though, both AD carries losing flash while they're at it.
So that's pretty important, I think, Hawk, for that Elder Dragon.
It's very important.
It's really starting to feel like that's going to be the determining factor in this game. We'll see. You see Jerry waiting at base right now. I imagine he's waiting for that IE spike. There it is. Infinity Edge here for the Maryville AD carry. He's dominated a lot of the NACL. He's been really dominant in CLOL. This is his time to really shine and turn this game back towards MU.
I'm so curious. Look at the mid lane items right now. I want to know, can we get gold actually? How close Spirax and DARKWINGS are to their 3rd items? Okay, DARKWINGS is not there. Neither of them are going to get there. So Both of them likely to be 2.5 items for this big fight. Also, both of them still level 15. Specifically on the Orianna, if you can hit 16 as DARKWINGS, that is so huge on this Ori.
Oh man, I'm really curious if he's gonna get there. This wave could be enough. I mean, I feel like you would be rotating if you weren't super close, but it looks like he's not gonna hit that spike. 30 seconds until that Elder. DARKWINGS does have teleport, so he could stay for another one, but instead, looks like he's gonna join the team and make sure they have pressure mid.
Jerry still has the cleanse. It's Maryville trying to control the mid wave. Again, they don't want to let Airren dash forward for free, but he knows he is strong. 3.5 items on the solution. It's just gonna be a TP 5v5 in the mid lane.
Push Winnie in a little bit, but he's too tanky for Maryville to go forward. Good ball placement out of DARKWINGS. They're making sure that Maryville cannot push too far up the mid lane. Srtty looking for a flank on the other side. Elastic slingshot from Niles to try to cut him off. They're looking for Srtty. They will not find him as the stun lands onto the Zac. That's a big chunk onto Niles, and that could be the signal for MU to go.
And the Zac has a lot of sustain, but he's got to be able to get access to the wave, and I don't think he'll be given it. No teleport either means he might just have to stay, Grapes, as the Elder is alive. SLU with priority over mid.
Reaper's Wall comes out, calling onto Niles, not gonna find the kill. Instead, Glacial Prison not finding a single member of the Six. DARKWINGS finds the shockwave, and SLU are looking to shock the world here in game number 3. Srtty gets the kill on his Zyko. They're looking for more. It's gonna be a wipe in the mid lane as the Billikens will hold true. They get the fight. It's a clean ace for 1, and they're gonna try and push down mid.
They're going to try to push down mid. Niles still alive at the passive, but Winnie, the captain, once again, finding the combo with DARKWINGS, this long-time mid-jungle duo, getting it done. That's going to be an ace, and that's going to be an Elder Dragon going the way of St. Louis University.
After such a dominant win from Maryville in that game too, St. Louis held strong. Their mental is just iron tight, and they have such a great position in this game. They're gonna potentially be match point over Maryville University.
Coming into the replay after the Winnie DARKWINGS shockwave, but that was really the play. Winnie, he got polymorphed. It didn't matter. Walking in anyway and finding the big play. I mean, that is what champions are potentially made of. I mean, critically, you know, SLU, they did drop 2, which means that their bottom lane doesn't have the Elder. Lucian in particular is very important for. Also, Baron still on the map, but of course, Elder about to contend with.
And now it's so hard for Maryville to find these fights, right? I mean, 1 gold card from Srtty, that can just follow up with so much more burst damage. 1 player falls, and that's all SLU needs to just push down and end the game. That means that Maryville is not going to contest this Baron. They're going to allow the Billikens to get full control on the top side, and they are going to just hurdle and hold and try and save the game at their base.
And we talked about Orianna levels and items. Well, Grapes, death cap. Level 17 now on the Orianna. DARKWINGS has arrived. Srtty 503, the big side laner for SLU, has arrived. Everybody firing on all cylinders. They want to bear down on top and mid. Bot wave, be damned. They know with the Elder, they can just find the fight.
Who will pull the trigger first? Airren's gonna dash forward, just get a little bit of chunk onto Niles. And Spirax actually going forward. He might go a little bit too far forward with the Weaver's Wall. Airren dodging away from the seismic shove. That could have been enough for Maryville to try to find 1 pick back, but instead, it is St. Louis pushing mid. They're pushing top, and they're going to get at least 1 inhibitor.
They're going to get at least 2, Grapes. There's no way Maryville can defend. I mean, I think there's a world where SLU pushes for the game. They still got the Elder buff on 5 members. Here they come.
Who's going to pull the trigger? I mean, Maryville, they have to go. Their base is getting destroyed. Here comes Niles. He dashes forward, but it's canceled by a tidal wave of SkyTec. He bursts down before the fight even starts, and that's going to be it. Jerry will fall. Zyko will fall. St. Louis University take us to match point.
What a game, and what a series so far from SLU as Airren, Winnie, everybody stepping up when they needed to. You can see the excitement on their faces in the player cams. What a beautiful game, stepping up big time when we asked them to, and doing